Hello everyone, my name is Effie Goldman. I am the Head of Solution Experts in Panorama Software, and today we are going to talk about advanced analytics in Necto. I will take you through a list of features that we support. You can do a lot of things in Necto in regards to advanced analytics, what-if scenarios, etc. And I will try to cover in depth all of these nice features that you can use and take advantage of. So let's start from bottom to top, and now we are starting with creating a new workboard and having a just new data sets on our workboard. So when I create a new workboard, I have the options like probably James showed you before, the creation of a workboard with data and the creation of a blank workboard. What I'm going to do today is to show you how I'm creating a blank workboard and start connecting it with data. So I'm creating blank workboard, just clicking on it. You can see that the menu jumped until the end to the finish area, and then I just give it a name. Now when I give it a name, you will be able to see that I'm now looking at my private folder. I could have used public folder if I would have been an admin on this system, but I would like to suggest or to simulate a situation where a regular user gets into the system and would like to present stuff or create stuff for his own. So it can be an analyst or any end user. So let's write here advanced analytics session. Just before we continue, I would like to understand whether you see everything and can you hear me as well. Can you just write down in the chat box if you can hear me? I'll be happy to make sure that everything is running okay. Thank you. Okay, very well. Okay, I understand. You can hear me. Thank you. So the screen is the Necto screen. If you have issues with seeing my screen, also please let me know. And during the presentation, if anything happens, let me know immediately so I'll be able to fix it and go back fast. Now when I start a new workboard in Necto, what I do is I do have an empty canvas now. I have this design mode, so I'm now looking at a workboard in a design mode. That actually means that I have an option dialog, and I also have a couple of components that I can use. Now let's use the topmost component, which is the view component. I will drag it to the center of the screen. Very important that if I'm not dragging it to the center of the screen but on the side somehow, it will not work for me. I have to drag it exactly on the on top of this blue arrow. And now now we have a dialog that shows me where to take the data. Now I will hit the multidimensional data or the database data or online services. Anything that I choose here is creating an in-memory model except for the multidimensional data. So if I, just to summarize it, if I connect to any file, any database table, or any online services, we have a list of online services that is not here currently. Anything that I connect to is creating automatically an in-memory model in Necto on the Necto server, which is also being managed. But if I just connect to a multidimensional data like OLAP cubes or an existing Necto model, I'm just query the data and I do not create a model on top of it. Now just to ease on things, let's connect to OLAP. to probably one of your favorites, Contoso Retail, and that's sample data, of course. It's time for me to change this sample data to something newer, but anyways, that works fine as well. I'll hit the sales, and I can go now to the finish button just to finish and see some data, but I do want to stop at the view designer. Now when I hit the view designer icon, I get to see only the metadata. Now this enables me to drag and drop items or dimensions and attributes to the slicers area, to the columns area, and to the rows area. When I do it, if I would like to see a preview of it, I have to tick the auto refresh button, and then everything that I will do will be reflected here on the bottom. So for example, if I will just take the products, I will see it here. It works very fast since we are not really querying the data or the aggregations from the cube or from the tabular model. We are just querying the metadata from it. So I can do that. I can also drop things from slices that I do not need. For example, scenario label, territory hierarchy, one of the geography hierarchies, etc. And I can bring some by the search or just by drag and dropping to the specific areas. Now I can also click on one of them and slice and dice by each one of them. So for example, I can say that I would like to see all of my data by specific departments. Again, here I can also see the data by specific levels, or I can define whether to show grand total or subtotal even before I query the data myself. Now, in order to see a small perspective of the data, just to make sure we are aligned, I will hit this button, which will refresh the data for me. Now, only now the aggregation is being received. I can see all of my subtotals, all of my years, the data that I'm expected to see. And then I will hit the finish button, which will show me the actual view that I created, with the ability to drill down, drill up the hierarchy, and all of the functionalities you know of from Necto. Now, the other day you had the session with James regarding basic analytics. And in the end of the session, James gave you some hands-on work to do exactly on the same server that I'm presenting now. Now, what I ask you is I will send you similar email with hands-on on the material I'm showing you today. So everyone that registered to this session today, in the end of the session, 5 minutes after, you'll get a follow-up email with hands-on material of this specific session from me. Now, what I ask you to do is, if you haven't received last or weren't able to join last time's presentation by James for basic stuff, please let me know and I will send you this material as well. The reason for that is that I'm now starting to do some advanced topics, and I would love if you will be able to do both basic and advanced hands-on, which will give you you'll use the tool powerfully. Yeah, there was a question here whether we have some recordings of these webinars. So yes, we do have recordings, and if you haven't registered to last time basic analytics, let me know and I will send you the record as well. So let's start from the advanced area of Necto. I will not touch today with regards to these menus to show chart and grid, etc. I would only talk about how I make sophisticated stuff. So First of all, formulas, I guess you all know and aware of the fact that I can create easy formulas in Necto. So for example, I have 2 years here, and if I will create a formula now of let's say a ratio between these years, or even easier, let's say just create a formula for the rows, for the growth between these 2 years. I'll call it growth. I will see the actual growth between these 2 years. I can also click on one-click insight to see it with no definition. So for example, I click this one-click insight icon. Probably you already are familiar with that. I have a threshold. I can define what I would like to see, which drop I would like to see. And then after defining that, I can also define whether I would like it to be compared to last year, or to last period, or to the parallel period, which is the same period but last year. So for example, if I look at quarters, and I will now drill down to quarters, I'm able to see Q3 versus Q2. Or if I will hit this icon and click on the parallel period, now it will show me Q3 this year versus Q3 last year. So the drops are being shown here, and as the more the color is darker, the issue is worsen. Okay, I will answer questions later, so excuse me if I'm now not answering questions. In the end of the session, I will leave some room for questions. So now we created a growth between 2 years, but what if we would like to understand what will be next year? We have to create a formula for that. So what I want to show you is how I get to maximize mode. When I hit this button, I get to a maximize mode, which is a more sophisticated mode for power users. Now, this mode enables me 2 things. First, to be focused on the data. So if I have lots of data, or a big or chart with lots of elements, like something like this, it will be easier to have it in the, or to view it in the maximize mode, although we can see it also in the regular dashboard with lots of other elements. But now I want to control the growth here, and to see how year 2010 will look like. In some time from now. So what I'm going to do, I have 2 options. One is to create a formula from this menu. When I create a new formula here, I am able to use some of the basic formulas that we listed here. So we can say that this formula will be percent of parent, or year to date, as you probably know, or some statistics like correlation. We can also use formulas like simple stuff, maximum, minimum, percent of grand total, etc. Or we can just hit this button, this MDX button, and get to the formula dialog, which in this case will show us the formulas dialog. And now I can use the year 2009 and multiply it by 1 plus the growth that we just found. So I multiply it by 1 plus the growth. Now the text is not big enough, so I will make the text bigger, so it will be easier for me to use it. Now I'll take the growth from here, and I will just drag it to this location. I also have the option to just start square brackets, and then I have the actual dimensions that I have in the view and that I can use. So growth is here as well. So I have 2 options, one to drag it, the other just to start writing a square brackets, and then I see all of the hierarchies. I see a menu for that. So now I have 1 plus the actual growth, or even we can also do other calculations as you wish. The formula name will be 2010. we'll call it 2010 what if, because of the fact that we can put some more parameters into it, and we will see later how to do that. So that's just an example of what we can do with the data. I'll hit the apply button, and now we have a what if scenario. What if year 2009 will have the same growth, or year 2010 will have the same growth versus year 2009 like it was versus 2008. What will happen is that we will go lesser in these years. So if I can mark it to the chart, I can really do some interesting analysis. So for example, let's rotate the chart, and I'm running because we are now in an advanced mode, and I can see year 2009 versus 2010 with all, or versus all of the different categories. Okay, and let's see 2008 as well. Now we just created a formula. We used one of the basic formulas in our customized formulas, and multiplied it by the current data that we have. So it's not a big deal, everyone can do it, but I want to show you now how I can insert some data or some parameters to this what if scenarios, enabling the user, the end user, to change stuff according to things that he's familiar with and is not written in the system, or has no data related to it in the system itself. So let's just create another parameter. I would like to add to this calculation 1 plus growth. I would like to add another parameter to here, and then in order to do that, I will use the placeholders that are available in Necto. So I will hit the insert placeholder, get to parameters placeholders, parameter designer, and from this menu I can also create parameters, not only from the dashboard itself, from the workboard area. So if I would have created a parameter in the workboard area, you would see it here. But now I would like to create a parameter from this menu. I will hit the numeric range, which enables me to do that. And this is some data that I know of. So let's say this is data regarding campaigns. So I know that campaigns has some effect on my data, might have, and the initial value can be 0. I don't want it to affect in the beginning. The minimum can be minus 10%, and the maximum can be 10%. So it's a uprising in campaigns that can bring me more sales or less sales, and the step can be 1%, let's say. And the format, writing a format is this way, very similar to the MDX syntax that you know of. So this is how I write a format. The visualization can also be selected. In this case, I will choose a slider, which is easier for me at the moment. And I got to a menu, to this menu, with some advanced topics that shows me some of the labels or all labels. Now I hit the all labels, hitting OK, and now I have this parameter. Now remember, I created this parameter in order to put it in the calculation and enable the user to use it. So I just tick it, click apply, and apply for the calculation that will mind this parameter. Now let's go back to the workboard area and put this parameter on the side. So for example, I can just grab the navigation component, put it on the side, tick that I would like to use the campaigns parameter. Now I have it, we can rotate it, set the border as we wish. So I just part between these two components, click the left mouse button, and now I have an uprising in my campaigns. Now look at the year 2010 in all categories. What happens if I have more campaigns? So the sales are rising. What happens if I have less campaigns? Sales are going down. Now, of course, this might not make sense to an analyst who thinks we should do things a bit different in order to see really how these campaigns affect the data. But I think that can give you some feeling of how we do stuff here, some sophisticated what-if scenarios, and also it can give you some feeling of how a parameter, a regular numeric value parameter used by the user, can affect a formula. Now let's go back to the maximize mode, which enables us more interesting stuff, and let's talk a bit about exceptions in the data. Now, exceptions in the data has a couple of nice features. First of all, we can use the simple exception. When I hit the plus button, I basically use the selected measure. So now I look at sales unit cost, which is also the sales that we see here, the same measure that we see here. And then I can use either selected members, meaning I can use specific products that will part this selection, or I can use other hierarchies. We can select the type. Currently we will hit the simple type, and then we will just say that we would like to see when it is below a certain amount. Let's do it very simple, then we go forward to something more advanced. So we start with the simple stuff. Let's say that we would like to see whether we are below 2 million. Okay, so there are a couple of years, couple of products that are below 2 million. Now you can see that it also affected the growth. So for example, if I would like to use the selected members, I could have just said, listen, I don't want the growth to be affected. So for example, I can say that I want to use these years and not anything else. So I'll hit the apply button again. Okay, so now I only have these years affected, and I can see data that is below 2 million. Now, we can also filter the data by this amount. So for example, I can say that I would like to filter the data by this exception, by this rule. So it will only show us the actual issues. Now, the beauty of it is that when I go back to the workboard mode, and now I put another navigation component on the bottom of this chart component, I can hit plus, and Necto automatically recognizes that I have an exception in the data. Now when I click this option, Necto shows me the initial value that I used, a minimum and a maximum that I can use just as a default to start using the data. Let's give it a certain format, like for example, format in a case, in thousands, and give this slider labels on all, labels on all. Hit the OK button. So, and go down a bit. Okay. Now, if I would like to see all the sales that are below 3,200,000, I will now see it. Okay, so that filters the data for me. If I would like to see less, I will see less. I will only see the issues that I have in the data currently. Now I'll go back to the maximize mode, and I will remove the filter that I used. So I don't want to use the exception. Remove it. Now I see all of the data, but still if I go back to the workboard mode, this will still be valid. So even if I say I would like to see only the ones that are below 1 million, now it will show me the values. It will point me at the right direction without filtering the data for me. So what do we see here? We see on one side we see the one-click insight working, which is the small triangle, the red triangle, with an icon saying I'm dropping from 2008 to 2009. I can see it by this threshold, which can also be determined by the user. Now this is a default by the system, and this default can be just changed quickly by an end user. In order to create this kind of exception that we did here, we need to be a bit more powerful users in order to do this stuff. I will maximize this component again, and now I will show you what does it mean to build a bubble up exception. When I hit the plus button, remember that I have this exception now on the data, and now I would like to use a bubble up exception. Now a bubble up exception literally says that every issue that I see in the data, even without being in the specific category, will bubble up for me. It will be shown for me without having to search for it. Just to ease on ourselves, I will remove the exceptions that we just did, so we'll have a better insight of what we can do in the data. So this is the regular view. Now I'll hit the plus button, we'll use the bubble up, and now I will ask Necto to highlight data when there are members. There are many options here, but I will use the most simple one, which is the most common one, at the specific level. Now I can choose specific level in the hierarchy. So for example, if I go down the hierarchy, I have quarters, I have months, etc. Or if I would like to drill down to through the product category to the product subcategory and the actual products, I don't really have to do it now because Necto will bubble it up for me. So if I will just ask Necto to show me things in the subcategory level, even if I am at the category level, and then you know what, let's go to the product name. So in the product name, I would like to see the products that sold less than, let's say we want to see only year 2009. So I select only year 2009. And just one second. So year 2009, and we can also select the what if scenario that we created. So we have the year 2009 what if scenario. Let's remove the subtotals, so it will be simple for us. And now I would like to see on the product name level a product that sold below 1,000 or $10,000. I'll apply this. Now we see we have a lot of products like that, so it's hard to analyze. Let's use only $1,000. Okay, when I hover above computers now, I can see the exact products that caused me loss of money or just weren't sold enough in my company, and I can now start analyzing it. When I go back to the original state, I can now see that that Necto allows me still to use the exception handler and also the campaigns. So I can also see how 2010 will be reflected as well as in considered to the bubble up exceptions. Let's remove this slider and use this bubble up exception just to show you how I'm using another parameter to affect the data. What I would like to show you today is how I'm using the top 10 with another parameter. I'll hit here to 2009, value filter top 10, but not only top 10, I would like to filter it by a specific value. So I'll hit filter, and I will say that I would like the top count, or let's say not top count, but something more interesting like top percent, top 5% at the product name level or product subcategory level. So I do want to see the top 5 at the product subcategory level, or the top 5 at the let's do it again, top 5% or top 30% at the product name level. Okay, very well. So now I have the top at the product name level. I have the top 30 at the product name level. None of them, by the way, falls into the category of bad income. But I do want to control how many items I will see in the top 10. So I get to the parameters again, put one of them here on the bottom or on the left side. Let's do it here. And now I'll hit the plus again, and instead of exceptions, I will use the value filters now. So I have the initial value of 30, minimum 0, maximum 60, just a matter of selection. Let's say that the step will be 10, and again, I would like to choose all values. And I will also create another exception slider, since I've deleted the other one, with an initial value of 1000. The format, as you remember, will be a format with a K, so I write comma K, which enables me to use K as 1000. And then I'll hit the OK button, and here will be a step of 1000, let's say. Okay. Okay, so I've just created two sliders. I had one for the campaigns. Let's just create or show the grid. I have one for the campaigns, and now I can see two sliders, one for the exception handler and the other for the top percent handler. So I can say I would like to see the top 60% with exceptions that are below 70K. I also would like to see how it will affect 2010. So that's another thing I can do. We can give the user a couple of sliders like this. Usually you'll find it very used by different analysts who would like to query the data and to see insights on top of the data. What I prefer in this situation, for example, is to take one of the categories instead of the lowest level. So for example, I would have taken one of the categories and see how my sales will be in 2010 for a certain exception that I would like to see in the data. Okay, so that was it. This is the session that I wanted to show you today. I do want to stress out there is much to learn here in Necto, and we just don't have much time to talk about it. But in the hands-on that you will get from me, right after the questions that you'll ask now, etc., you'll have a lot of things regarding exceptions, formulas, bubble up exceptions, creating things in parameters and using them in the actual workboard that you are working in, and also some things regarding other features in Necto, like for example using data properties, creating dynamic sets, etc. Now my line is open for questions. Please write your questions in the chat box below, and I will start answer the questions that were already being asked by a couple of you. So where is this? chat box. Okay, so some of you asked whether I'm about to send videos of this demonstration. So of course we are going to send some videos, and the videos are just coming right up. If you're not receiving them, reply to me and I will send it again for you. Anything else you would like to ask? Yeah, I can see that there are some questions. For some reason, I can't get to the chat box. Just 1 second, please. Okay, so here's my chat box. Okay. Can we input data or update data on the grid, or we need to install some application maybe? Well, that's a good question. The only way to input data on the grid is by using these kinds of parameters. We are not allowing write back through the application. If that's the question, you can embed in Necto. There is an HTML component which enables you, we can embed it here in any space, which enables you to write some code if you would like forms to be activated in Necto through Necto. Basically, it's just an HTML component. The interface will be the same interface, but the user will enter a form that will affect the data that the other users will see. Can we set suppress, hide, or zero missing values on Necto? Okay, that's a very good question. Missing values is something that you don't see right now. This is because there is a definition, a default definition for that. In order to change it, I get to maximize mode, and I'll have to go to what we call data properties. So that's the properties of data. I can show different things, like instead of showing values, I can show percents, or to show percents and values. So there are things that you can do here that I haven't showed yet. Just 1 second, please. Yeah, just 1 second, please. It's okay. Okay. For some reason, it's not working for me right now. But there are things here that you can do. Just 1 second. Okay. Let's show it to you here. Maybe someone is harassing my server right now. Okay, so now it's okay. So there are things here that you can do that are not appearing in the actual workboard. What you're asking for is something called you have an option to show non-empty values. I will look for that. There is an option like that. Okay, that's the thing. Nulls as blank. You have the option to change it to show nulls. So if you want to see all of your products and whether some of them gained a value, some are not, you will just have to use these options, whether to use empty values or not. So if I will hit the yes button, I will be able to apply, and then I will see all of my products. Now, sometimes it will be a pain for the system performance, and that is because the cube, if you give it to return too much information, it will work specifically. Okay. Is it possible to use DAX formulas in addition to MDX? Yes, of course it is possible. You can use DAX formulas in the MDX dialog with a hint that we can give you. Another question was, can Necto do if-else function on free function. Yes, of course. So this is the basics of any MDX query. If I would like, I can just quickly show it to you. I'll hit the maximize option here over there. Just 1 second, please. I have some internet issues. So anyways, this is the if when you go to and I will suggest you a website for that, you can just go to MDX expert and see all of the functions that exist for MDX, and we support all of them. So basically, if I will use the if statement, which is the if else that you asked for, you have a lot of examples here on how to use it, and these examples can be used in Necto. The very basic one is this: if something, then something. Okay. Now let's continue to the other questions that you have. Interesting questions, guys. Okay. Another question was, hi Effie, very good. Can you set parameters from set or workboard? For instance, top 100 customers for current year. Yes, we can. From set of workboard or workboard, for instance, top 100 customers for current year. Yes, of course you can do that. First of all, you have to create a function. For example, so everyone will understand, let's say I'm now in year 2014 or 15 in today's case, and I would like Necto to automatically recognize the year I'm at, and then just give me the top 100 on a specific year that I'm looking at. So first of all, you have for each one of these dimensions, you have a default member. So if I will write the calendar name, I have something called default member that I can use just to filter on the year that we are selected on. And then after Necto will filter on the specific year, you can just create the top 100 on the subtotal. So the top subtotal will only show you the selected year, and every time you create a top or a bottom on the subtotal, it will show you only the selected year. Now that requires some MDX knowledge, but a very basic one to understand which year we are at currently. There are many examples out there in the net for that. Another option is to create a formula that will always show you only the current year. In this case, let's just to showcase it, let's create a formula named 2015. This formula will have the exact values of this year, because I don't really have any logic currently. I don't have data for that, so I will apply it. And then this is the year that I'm looking at, and now that's my formula. Now on top of this formula, I can build a value filter with top 10, bottom 10, etc. Or in your case, filter by 100. So this formula will always remain the same formula. The top 100 will always be on this column, and will always show the data for the current year. Now, just instead of writing the exact year, you have to write a specific MDX for that. Okay, next question. Next question will be, for some reason, okay. Connector, okay. Can you please explain the insights bar one more time with the options? Okay. Thank you for the question. Let's look at this one. Okay. Now, when you see that we are dropping here in the chart between May and June for this line, for the light blue line called cameras. So when you see it, you understand that there is a drop. But what if you had a table, a grid, with lots of numbers? Let's say we have like tons of numbers here. I see the products not in the products level, but in another level, like in a lower level. So imagine you have a lot of rows, a lot of columns. How would you be able to understand that you have an issue here? Necto does it automatically for you. So you just hit the button and then you see it. Now currently we are looking at a threshold of 50%. Let's put it on 6%, so we see more issues with our data, issues that was not easy for us to see beforehand on the chart even. So if I will bring the chart again, now you might be able to recognize these issues from the chart as well, if I will make it bigger. The idea is to use as much space as needed to figure out issues and to answer them. So Necto shows it to us by using this threshold. So I would like to see issues drops of 6% and up versus last period. So June is now compared to May, but I can also stress out issues that are compared to a parallel period, like June 14 compared to June 13. I hope it's more clear now. Okay. Thank you for your questions. I really enjoyed this session today. This video will also be sent to you, and in 5 minutes or so I will also send you all the hands-on training. You will be able to enter the same Necto link that I used until now, this one, in order to do this hands-on training. If you have issues with it, let me know. And also, if you would like, you can just go on or see all of these nice workboards that we created for you, like this one, for instance, which also contains some infographics and things we didn't manage to explain today. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.